Ladies and gentlemen, most people waste their nights scrolling, worrying, drowning in yesterday's regrets. But what if I told you there's a way to erase everything? To wake up brand new every single morning, not with magic, but with something far more powerful. You ever notice how some people just glow? No matter what happens, they stay calm, focused, unshaken. It's not luck, it's not genetics. It's something they do every single night, a ritual, a reset button for the soul. Tonight, you'll learn how to do the same, the nightly death ritual. Every night you must die. Not in the way you think, not your body, not your breath, not your heartbeat, but the version of you that carried today's weight, that absorbed its losses, its frustrations, its small and large disappointments. That version must end. It cannot be allowed to live another day. And most people don't realize this. They go to bed with yesterday still clinging to them. And when they wake up, they drag it into the new day like a chain behind them. They don't understand why mornings feel heavy, why the same problems keep repeating, why they never truly feel fresh. The answer is simple. They never let the old version of themselves die. Imagine carrying a sack of stones. Every day you add more anger from an argument, regret from a mistake, anxiety about something you can't control. By the end of the week, the sack is so heavy you can barely stand. But instead of emptying it, you keep adding. This is how most people live. They don't realize that the night is not just for rest, it's for release. It's the moment where you must consciously decide. This version of me ends here. Tomorrow, I begin again. There is a reason ancient traditions speak of death and rebirth in cycles. The sun does not rise without first setting. The seasons do not renew without first passing. And you cannot grow without first letting go. The ritual is simple, but it requires something most people refuse to give: honesty. You must sit with yourself in silence and acknowledge what happened today. Not to dwell on it, not to punish yourself for it, but to see it clearly. Then release it. Ask yourself, what did today teach me? Not what hurt me, not who wronged me, not who wronged me. The lessons are what matter. The rest is just weight. When you find them, the lessons, you take them with you. The rest, the anger, the fear, the doubt you leave behind. You do this by intention. You do this by sitting still, breathing deeply and saying either out loud or in your mind, this no longer serves me. And then you let it go not by force but by surrender. You don't fight the thoughts, you acknowledge them. Thank them for whatever protection they try to offer. And then you tell them, your job is done, I don't need you anymore. This is the death, the small quiet death that happens every night before sleep. You are not the same person you were this morning. You cannot be. Too much has happened, too many thoughts, too many reactions, too many moments where you were less than you wanted to be. If you don't let that version of you die, it will haunt tomorrow. It will whisper in your ear when you try to make better choices. It will remind you of your failures before you even have a chance to succeed. But if you do this, if you take these few minutes to end the day with intention, you wake up different, not perfect, not invincible, but lighter, clean like a blank page. The mistakes of yesterday do not get to write on today. The fears of yesterday do not get to dictate today. You step into the morning as someone new, someone who remembers the lessons but is not weighed down by the pain. Most people fear death because they don't understand it. But this kind of death, the nightly kind, is not something to fear. It is the only way to truly live. Why your mind needs a reset. Your mind is not a storage room. It is not a place where things can pile up endlessly without consequence. It is more like a whiteboard, the surface where thoughts, ideas, emotions and memories are written, erased, rewritten. But most people treat it like a permanent record. They let everything stay. The anger from a morning argument still there by bedtime. The stress from a missed deadline still there the next day. The embarrassment from a small mistake still there weeks later. They don't realize that the mind was never meant to hold everything at once. It was meant to process, to learn, then to let go. If you don't clean the whiteboard at night, tomorrow starts smudged. You wake up and before you even have a chance to think a new thought, the old ones are already there, overlapping, making it hard to see clear. This is why some people feel like they're always behind, always drowning in their own minds. They never reset. They assume sleep will do it for them, that closing their eyes and waking up is enough. But sleep is not the reset. The ritual before sleep is, think of it like shutting down a computer. If you just close the lid without closing the programs, it runs slower the next time you turn it on. But if you properly shut it down, it starts fresh. Your mind works the same way. The thoughts you carry into sleep are the programs still running in the background. They drain your energy, slow your focus, and make everything feel harder than it needs to be. The reset is simple, but it's not passive. You don't just hope your mind clears itself. You take control. You sit, even if just for a few minutes, and you consciously decide what stays and what goes. You ask yourself, what do I need to remember and what do I need to release? The first is usually small, a lesson, an insight, something you learned today that will help you tomorrow. The second is everything else, the noise, the unnecessary weight, the emotions that no longer serve you. This is not about pretending the day didn't happen. It's about choosing what matters. If you had a difficult conversation, the lesson might be I need to speak more clearly next time. That stays. The rest, the frustration, the second guessing, the replaying of the moment that goes. If you made a mistake, the lesson might be this is what I need to improve. That stays. The shame, the self-criticism, the fear of failing again that goes. You do this by breathing deeply, slowly. With every exhale, you imagine the unnecessary thoughts leaving. You don't fight them. You don't argue with them. You just let them go. And when the mind tries to bring them back, because it will, you don't engage. You say that was yesterday, today is new. This is the reset. Not magic, not mystery, just intention. Most people don't do it because they don't realize how much their yesterday is still living in their today. They don't see how much lighter they could be. But you have a choice. Every night you can decide this is where yesterday ends. This is where tomorrow begins. And when you do, something changes. The mornings feel different. The thoughts are clearer. The weight is gone. Not because the world has changed, but because you, the 3-step nightly cleansing. There is a way to end your day that doesn't leave you carrying its weight into tomorrow. It's not complicated. It doesn't require special tools or years of practice. It only requires 3 steps done with intention. Most people won't do it, not because it's hard, but they think transformation has to be dramatic, difficult, something that shakes the ground beneath them. But real change happens in the quiet, in the space between one breath and the next, in the moments before sleep, when the world is still and you are left with nothing but yourself. The first step is the review. You sit, you don't scroll, you don't distract yourself, you don't rush to the next thing. You sit in silence and you ask yourself one question. What did today teach me? Not what went wrong, not who hurt me, not what do I regret, just what did it teach you? Every day has lessons, even the worst days, especially the worst days. But if you don't look for them, you will only see the pain, not the purpose behind it. The review isn't about reliving the day. It's about seeing it clearly, without emotion, without the story you've attached to it. What actually happened? What did you learn? That's all. No judgments, no spinning in circles, trying to rewrite what's already done. Just the facts, just the lessons. The second's the release. You take a deep breath, deep enough that you feel it in your stomach, not just your chest. And as you exhale, you imagine every mistake, every tension, every unnecessary thought leaving your body. You don't hold on to them. You don't analyze them. You don't argue with them. You just let them. And as you do, you say either out loud or in your mind, this no longer serves me. Those words matter. They're not just a phrase, they're a decision. You are telling yourself with clarity that these thoughts, these emotions, these weights, they are not coming with you. They don't get to live in tomorrow. They don't get to influence what happens next. They are finished. The third step is the rebirth. You close your eyes and you picture the version of yourself who will wake up in the morning. Not the tired, stressed, anxious version you might be right now, but the calm, clear, focused version. The one who isn't carrying yesterday's baggage, the one who meets today with fresh eyes. You imagine that person, you see them moving through their morning, making decisions, responding to challenges, not with the weight of what happened before, but with the clarity of someone who has left the past where it belongs. And then you step into that image, you become it, not tomorrow now. In this moment, before you even sleep, you decide who you will be when you wake up. This is the cleansing, not a magic trick, not a spiritual bypass, a real practical reset. Most people think they have no control over how they feel when they wake up. They blame the night's sleep, the morning's chaos. The circumstances, they can't change. But the truth is, how you wake up is decided the night before, not by chance, but by choice, by whether or not you took these few minutes to end the day with intention to separate what matters from what doesn't. To decide consciously what you're taking with you and what you're leaving behind. The mind doesn't reset on its own. It holds on to things unless you tell it to let go. The emotions don't fade unless you release them. The weight doesn't disappear unless you put it. These 3 steps, review, release, rebirth, are how you do that. How you ensure that tomorrow isn't just a repeat of today. How you make sure you're not dragging the same burdens forever. Most people will skip this. They'll say they don't have time. They'll say it's too simple. They'll say they'll do it tomorrow. But you know better. You know that the small things done consistently are what change everything. You know that the quiet moments are where the real work happens. So tonight you'll sit, you'll breathe, you'll let go, and tomorrow you'll wake up new. The science behind letting go. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined stress. That's the first thing you need to understand. When you're lying in bed at night replaying an argument, reliving a mistake, worrying about something that might happen, your body reacts as if it's happening all over again. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your breath becomes shallow, stress hormones flood your system. All while you're lying in the dark trying to sleep. This is why so many people wake up exhausted. Even after hours in bed, their body was never at rest. It was still fighting battles that only existed in their mind. Studies have shown that nighttime reflection, consciously processing the day's events and then releasing them, can lower cortisol levels by up to 30%. Cortisol is the hormone responsible for stress, for that feeling of being constantly on edge. When it's high, everything feels harder. Focus is difficult, patience is thin, small problems feel like emergencies. But when you take the time before sleep to acknowledge what happened and then let it go, you're not just relaxing, you're rewiring your nervous system. You're teaching your body that it's safe to rest, that not every thought needs a reaction, that not every emotion needs to be carried forward. This isn't philosophy, it's biology. When you hold on to anger, onto anxiety, onto regret, you're keeping your nervous system stuck in fight or flight mode. It doesn't matter if the threat is physical or just a thought. The response is the same. Your body doesn't care if the danger is real. It only knows that you're treating it as if it is. And so it prepares, it tenses, it stays alert even when you're desperate to sleep. Your mind is wide awake, scanning for threats because you haven't told it the danger is over. But when you practice letting go, when you sit with the day's events, extract the lessons, and then consciously release the rest, you're sending a signal to your nervous system. It's safe to stand down, the work is done. This is why people who practice this kind of nightly cleansing often report deeper sleep, more energy in the morning, and a greater sense of calm throughout the day. It's not just mental, it's physical. You're literally changing your body's chemistry. The process works because it's deliberate. You're not just hoping your mind will quiet down on its own. You're actively guiding it. You're saying, this is what we're keeping. This is what we're releasing. You're not suppressing emotions. You're processing them, then putting them away. There's a difference. Suppression means ignoring, pretending something doesn't bother you when it does. Processing means looking at it, understanding it, and then deciding it doesn't get to stay. This is also why the rebirth step matters. When you picture tomorrow's version of yourself, calm, clear, untroubled by yesterday, you're not just fantasizing. You're priming your brain. You're giving it a blueprint for how to respond when you wake. Studies on visualization show that the brain often can't distinguish between vivid imagination and real experience. When you repeatedly imagine yourself responding to situations with patience, with focus, with calm, you're laying the neural pathways to make that your default. You're not just hoping you'll be different tomorrow. You're building the foundation for it tonight. Most people treat their minds like runaway trains. They let thoughts race unchecked. Emotions spiral uncontrollably. Stress accumulate endless. They don't realize they have the power to hit the brakes to say it stops here. The science proves it. The body responds to what the mind dwells on. So if you want to change how you feel, not just emotionally, but physically, you have to change what you hold onto tonight when you lie down. Remember, your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined stress, but you do, and you get to decide which one you feed. The empty cup mindset. There is an ancient teaching about the empty cup. Imagine you have a cup in your hands and it is filled to the brim with yesterday's tea. Stale cold, the flavor long gone. Someone offers you fresh steaming tea, but your cup cannot hold it. There is no space, so you must choose. Do you keep drinking the old bitter tea, or do you pour it out to make room for something new? This is your mind. Every thought, every emotion, every memory you refuse to release takes up space. And when there is no space left, nothing new can enter. No wisdom, no peace, no clarity. Just the same old patterns repeating, the same old reactions cycling, the same old weight dragging you down. Most people go through life with cups so full of yesterday's regrets, last week's anxieties, last year's resentments that they cannot even recognize the fresh opportunities right in front of them. They wonder why nothing changes, why they feel stuck, why life seems to pass them by. But the answer is simple. Their cup is too full. The problem is not that life isn't offering you new tea. The problem is that you haven't emptied your cup. This is why the nightly cleansing matters. It is not just about feeling better in the moment. It is about making space for what comes next. If you go to bed still holding on to the argument you had, the mistake you made, the insecurity that gnawed at you all day, then you wake up with that same cup still full, still leaving no room for anything else. And so the cycle continues. You react instead of rest. You carry instead of release. You stay the same instead of grow. Emptying the cup is not about pretending the past didn't happen. It is about acknowledging that it no longer serves you. That argument, it taught you something. Maybe about your boundaries, maybe about your communication. Take the lesson, leave the anger. That mistake, it showed you where you need to improve. Take the insight, leave the shame. That insecurity, it pointed you toward a fear you need to face. Take the awareness, leave the self-doubt. The mind is not amused. You do not need to preserve every emotion, every thought, every moment as if it deserves a permanent display. Most of it is just clutter. Most of it is just taking up space that could be used for something better, something stronger, something wise. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what is in my cup right now that no longer serves me? And then pour it out, not with force, not with resistance, but with a quiet certainty that you are making room for something better. You do not need to know what that something better is yet. You just need to trust that by emptying the old, you are preparing for the new. Most people are afraid of the empty cup. They think that if they let go of what they have, even if it's bitter, even if it's stale, they will be left with nothing. But emptiness is not nothingness. Emptiness is potential. It is readiness. It is the space where growth begins. So tonight, do not go to bed with a full cup. Do not wake up with one either. Pour it out, all of it, and then wait. See what fills the space. What to do when you can't let go. Some nights the mind does not want to cooperate. You sit there trying to release, trying to cleanse, trying to empty the cup, and it fights back. But they wronged me, it whispers. But I failed, it insists. But what if it happens again? It demands. The thoughts circle like vultures refusing to leave. And the more you try to push them away, the louder they become. This is the moment most people give up. They assume that because it's difficult, it's not working. They think, maybe this doesn't work for me. Maybe I'm just not good at letting go. But here is the truth. Resistance is part of the process. The mind clings to what it knows. Even if what it knows is pain, it holds on to familiar suffering. Because in some twisted way, suffering feels safer than the unknown. So when you can't let go, do not fight yourself. That only makes it worse. Arguing with your thoughts is like wrestling with a shadow. You will never win and you will only exhaust yourself trying. Instead, try this. Acknowledge them. Say to them, I see you. I hear you. Thank you for trying to protect me. This might sound strange. Why would you think a thought that's tormenting you? Because every thought, no matter how painful, is trying to do something for you. The anger is trying to protect you from being hurt again. The regret is trying to prevent you from repeating a mistake. The anxiety is trying to prepare you for danger. There are misguided, overzealous bodyguards shoving you away from anything that feels risky. Even if that risk is peace, even if that danger is growth, when you acknowledge them, when you thank them, you are not agreeing with them, you are not surrendering to them. You are simply recognizing their intention. And once you do that, you can say gently but firmly, but I choose peace instead. This is the shift. You are not trying to destroy the thoughts. You are not trying to silence them. You are simply choosing not to follow them. Imagine your thoughts as leaves floating down a river. You can sit on the bank and watch them pass. You do not have to jump in and chase. You do not have to fish them out and examine them. You can just let them go. Some nights the river will be rushing. Some nights the leaves will be endless. That's okay. You don't have to stop the river. You just have to stay on the bank. Keep breathing. Keep repeating. Thank you, but I choose peace. Eventually, the current will slow. The leaves will become fewer. The mind will realize you are no longer fighting, and so it will no longer need to fight back. This is not about instant results. This is about training. The mind has spent years, maybe decades, holding on to things. It will not unlearn that in one night, but with patience, with consistency, it will learn something new. It will learn that you are no longer interested in carrying what weighs you down, that you are no longer willing to drink from a cup that's constant, that you are choosing again and again to wake up new. So tonight, if the thoughts come and they will, do not resist, do not argue. Just say thank you. But I choose peace and then let the river flow. The morning mirror test, the first moments after waking are sacred. In that hazy space between sleep and full consciousness before the world has a chance to impose its demands, you have a choice. Will you carry yesterday into today, or will you begin anew? This is where the mirror test comes in. When you rise, before you check your phone, before you speak to anyone, stand in front of a mirror and really look at the person staring back. That is not yesterday's version of you. That is today's fresh, unwritten. Every morning, the world gives you a chance to start over, a clean slate. But most people drag yesterday into today like a heavy bag of regrets, mistakes, and old stories that no longer serve them. This is where the mirror test comes in. It is simple but powerful. When you wake up, before you reach for your phone, before you open your mouth to speak to anyone, stand in front of a mirror and really look. Not a quick glance to fix your hair or check your outfit. I mean, really look at the person staring back at you. That face is not yesterday's version of you. That person isn't carrying the weight of what happened last week, last month, or even last year unless you choose to hand it over. The moment you wake up, you are handed a blank page. What you write on it is entirely up to you. Too often, we live on autopilot. We wake up already thinking about yesterday's problems, mistakes we made, things we should have said or done differently. We carry the same thoughts, the same doubts, the same fears, and then wonder why every day feels like a repeat of the one before it. But the mirror test breaks that cycle. It forces you to meet yourself as you are right now, unwritten, unshaped, full of potential. When you look into that mirror, you have a choice. Will you bring yesterday's anger into today? Will you replay the same arguments, the same guilt, the same disappointment? Or will you give yourself permission to start fresh, to see today as a chance to do things differently? The person staring back at you is not defined by old failures. They are not chained to yesterday's mistakes unless you decide to change them. They are a new version of you, a version that gets to choose better habits, speak kinder words, and take bolder steps. The mirror test reminds you of something powerful. You don't have to be who you were yesterday. You can let go. You can begin again. Every single morning is a reset button, but only if you claim it. So tomorrow, before the noise of the world crashes in, meet your own eyes in the mirror. Tell yourself, this is a new day. I am not my past. I am not my mistakes. I am not my fears. I am not my fears. Today I get to write a new story and then carry that feeling with you. Because once you see yourself as new, the world begins to respond in kind.